No one's
Honest-
listening to Luther in a public event, right? No one.
That is not true. What?
Last time you heard Luther,
What?
I
No,
hear
no,
Luther,
no, no. That is
I hear
crazy.
Luther in like TJ Maxx. Like I don't hear it at like an event.
What? Hello, and welcome back to the Voice for You podcast, where we empower the leaders of today and tomorrow. I'm your host, Jesh Vanvana. Today, I'm joined by a young leader in our community. He is a technology entrepreneur who believes in the power of technology to improve various fields across various industries. He has founded and currently leads Educate Hacks, an international education technology hackathon event that not only has accumulated more than 5,000 participants, but also has sponsors such as Google and Deep AI. He has also founded and sold Schoolyard, an education technology startup that has launched a high school community building app with the support of companies like Amazon. His work has definitely not gone unnoticed, as he was named a 2025 Coca-Cola Scholar. Leading his community and the nation through technology, he is Mr. Amogh Ganjikunta. How are you doing today, Amogh?
I'm doing good, yeah. Just adjusting to the summer.
Yeah, summertime, especially after senior, a lot of people have told me that this is their first summer where they're not actually doing anything crazy per se. So that, especially because like you've already gotten to college, it's just this time is just like chill out, and obviously you're going to a crazy college, I'm assuming. So just getting prepared for that lifestyle that's about to hit you next, for sure.
It's like the calm before the storm.
Exactly. That storm's gonna hit hard too, because college, I don't know, I personally can't talk about college because I still have a year from that, but college is definitely a different lifestyle from what I've heard, at least. So definitely, but how was your day, Ben? I know it's like noon, so not much has happened throughout the day, but how's your day been?
It's been good. I have an internship, which is like this. We're trying to make the SAT fun, I guess. It's like Duolingo for the SAT. So I had a meeting for that in the morning, but I had a pretty late night yesterday. I watched the F1 movie, so it was like,
that came out?
Yeah, it came out. I don't know. A friend just asked to watch it.
Okay.
We're out pretty late, so I woke up at like 10 a.m.
Yeah, a lot of my friends, I have a bunch of friends who are like obsessed when it comes to like F1. When I tell you obsessed, they are obsessed with F1. And I know a lot of my friends were looking forward to the F1 movies. One of my really good friends, he's a big movie head, and we went to go watch Mission Impossible together. He told me the next time he's going to the movie theaters is going to be for the F1 movie, because he's a big F1 guy.
I mean, it was amazing. Just like the plot was like solid, but just the production was amazing. It felt like, and then Brad Pitt's an amazing actor.
Yeah, I mean it's Brad Pitt.
I don't think he has a bad movie. It's like,
I'll be honest, I don't think. And then the F1 movie, it's not like full on action, but it's also like a sports movie, so there's got to be some sort of like sports action, if you know what I mean. So especially with like on the racing track, like that, like you've seen cars, it can get intense.
And I mean, the whole premise is like Brad Pitt's character is like a lot more chaotic and like confrontational. So there's like a lot of run-ins and like couple. It's very different from a normal F1 race, I guess. Because the whole premise of the movie is he's like a very combative driver. So it's like pretty cool. It's like there's a couple explosions. It's all very well put together. I love the movie. It's great. Got me into F1. I'm not into F1 at all.
Okay, so I mean, coming from someone that's not into F1 liking the movie, that probably means that it is a good movie. And obviously you can't have like F1 racing and you can't have a crazy F1 movie without any explosions. Like, it's pretty common. Like, it's not a good thing, but it is pretty common, I feel like, from what I've seen. I'm not a big F1 guy myself, so I mean, I can't really talk on F1. I'll probably have to go check that out, maybe in the theaters, or once I get free, or maybe once it releases on streaming platforms. I feel like it would be better to be in the movie theaters though, just because of like I feel like that movie would be better a theater experience rather than
it definitely was better in theaters.
Definitely. I feel like any action movie is just better in theaters, especially with like the sound work and like all that. No, definitely, like feel like so that's definitely gonna be something I have to put on my watch list now, 100%. Because I'm a big movie guy, so you know, especially because this movie's been anticipated for a long time. I know it's been a big anticipation there because there's not that many Cars movies unless you count actual like the Cars. There's not any like F1 movies. I know there was one like last year, like Gran Turismo. I heard that was good, but I haven't watched it. But definitely. But before we get into the interview, tell me a little bit about yourself, your hobbies, your passions, and who you are as a person.
Yeah, so I kind of do a lot of things. I'd say probably the thing which has shaped me the most is probably scouting. I'm like a lifelong Boy Scout. I got Eagle Scout last year. That's just been like, I heavily recommend that to like anyone who has the opportunity to be a scout. But then kind of more into like the pre-professional side of things. I probably started programming in 8th grade over the pandemic. It was actually CS50. It's like this course by Harvard. So it's kind of like a funny full circle moment because I might like I took the online version of that course, but now I might take like the actual course next year. But yeah, so I started learning programming then in like 8th grade. And then the first like thing I really built was Schoolyard, is like this high school specific social network. We raised some money, from groups like Amazon, scaled a bit, but that eventually wound down. Got like acqui-hired, then worked at a couple startups. And I'd say generally, I'm really interested in how technology kind of intersects with governance. I think that's really kind of manifested in my work in like education and like ed tech. But right now, I've also been exploring like medical technology and healthcare. And I think kind of this more general idea of like, I think technology and government are intersecting and colliding at a far faster rate right now. I think like the rise of Palantir shows that, but also I think we're just seeing technological figures have a bigger voice in politics. And there's a lot of questions around like, how do we regulate social media? How do we regulate AI? Should we regulate those things? So yeah, I just find that intersection really interesting. That's probably where I'm going to be building in to some degree over the next couple of years. And yeah, so I'd say that's really where my main passion lies. Outside of that, I love singing. I love music. I've sung in my high school for 2 years so far. It was just kind of off the whim, but there's something to just not just watching live music, but like being in a group, like you could just hear the vibrations, and it's unlike anything else. So yeah, I'd say that's like a TLDR of who I am, what I'm interested in.
Definitely. I definitely can, relate to you with the singing part. I did Carnatic singing for like, Indian classical for like a decade. And I never was able to do high school choir due to the fact that, like class load and like, because at my school, we do like block schedule. So choir and like classes like choir, band, orchestra, that takes 2 of 8 classes. And that's like, it's a big, GPA downgrader, and it affects. But, I've always been a big singer. I've performed wherever I can. I've performed at my last 2 culture days. Like you said, singing is always, not only, it's different. Like seeing live music is also like being a part of that live music. Definitely. They had like this, like they said it was all West in like 5th grade, but I don't know how all that is, it's so I definitely can feel you on the singing part and your extracurriculars. Technology obviously is a big key factor in what you do as a person, and then Boy Scouts too, which we'll get into 100%. But before I get into my interviews, I like to ask like a lighthearted question, or in this case maybe not too lighthearted, because my editor, me and him were talking the other day, and he's like, Jesh, you gotta spice up the questions that you ask at the beginning because they're super lame. So he wanted me to ask the next person, Drake or Kendrick Lamar?
1,000% Drake, right?
Really?
I'm the biggest Drake fan you'll meet in my life.
Really?
In your life. Like for my graduation speech, I had like 2 Drake quotes in it. I've listened to Drake since I was in 8th grade. I love Kendrick also. Like Good Kid, Mad City, I think is easily in the top 3 hip hop albums of all time. I don't think Drake is the greatest albums artist, right? Like I think he really only has 2 listenable albums, probably Take Care and Nothing Was the Same. If You're Reading This, It's Too Late, maybe. That's a mixtape, but
Yeah.
I love If You're Reading This, It's Too Late, but it's not really an album. But I think when you go and look at singles, the reality is music is mostly playlists right now. And when you look at who's going to make the playlist, who I'd rather listen to in my playlist, it's Drake 1,000%. When you go singles for singles, right? It's like everyone said like, oh, it was the end of Drake after the Kendrick versus Drake beef. And now every event I go to, what do I hear? I hear Nokia, right? No one's listening to Luther in a public event, right? No one.
It's not true. What?
Last time you heard Luther?
No. That is crazy.
I hear Luther like TJ Maxx. Like I don't hear it at, like an event.
What?
Luther is like in TJ Maxx, the mall, and like I don't know, maybe in the car ride every now and then. Like I've never listened to someone bumping Luther at like a party or something.
No, I'd be bumping. All of my friends be bumping Luther. Oh my God.
I don't know. But
What?
I respect Kendrick as an artist. I think he might be the better artist than Drake. I think Drake is the better musician. I think Drake is the one who made singing even more mainstream in hip hop. He made it okay to talk about your feelings. Like I think if you draw like early 2000s hip hop, you know, Lil Wayne was going on his mixtape run. I think you were very big into like the gangster, like braggadocio, macho rap. I think Drake, and also the release of It's, but Drake especially, kind of shifted hip hop to this more like spacey, melancholic R&B, kind of more reflective tone. Like he made it okay to talk about your feelings, like Marvin's Room, right? It's like, I think he really shifted hip hop away from this kind of unsustainable braggadocio.
I mean, you can also argue that Drake is not really like a hip hop artist, so you can argue that he's an R&B.
Yeah.
Like, to be honest, like
no, 1,000%. Yeah.
Personally, I'm Team Kendrick. So, you know, Damn is my favorite album of all time. It is a masterpiece. You know, I watched this hour-long like video about like the behind Damn, and I can go bar for bar on Humble and DNA. Those are like one of the only two songs. Like those are like two songs that I can go like bar for bar on.
Yeah, I love DNA.
Yeah, but there's so many. In my personal opinion, Drake's last album with Party Next Door was dog trash. It was terrible.
Well, here's my mentality on that, right? Kendrick releases like every 4 or 5 years. Like on average, like every 3 or 4 years.
Every good artist takes a second to release.
Well,
like
the thing with Drake, right, is he releases like every 9 months to a year. And even his last album, everyone was dissing it, right? But it had at least 4 or 5 great songs, in my opinion.
I could not
or
get
like at least 3 or 4, right?
I got like
song
4
album.
or 5 songs into that album. I could not listen.
Yeah, but like if you listen to the entire 20-song album, there's at least 4 or 5 bangers. So I'm sure if Drake, if he wanted to, if he followed the Kendrick model, he could release one album every 4 or 5 years and it'd be filled with just great songs. But he doesn't do that. He releases more music and trusts the fans to pick the good music, right? He wants to release everything to the world and let the world pick what they want. And I respect that a lot more than Kendrick's approach of just releasing good music. Like,
but let's be honest, when is the last time Drake dropped a like single album?
What do you mean?
I might be a little slow, but there's the 21 Savage album.
I mean, For All the Dogs was his last single album, and that was
it was trash.
I mean, I liked it. No, but my whole thing is, right, it's like music is subjective. You know, on every Drake album, I think most people could find at least a couple songs they like. But the 3 or 4 songs I like on his latest album are completely different from the 3 or 4 songs someone else will like on his album. But at least Drake has the courage to release that album and let the fans pick what they like. Like, I respect that approach to music a lot more than Kendrick's approach, where he probably has thousands of music files in the recording studio, which are never going to see the light of day. Like, sure, release the music. Maybe there's some terrible songs like Meet Your Padre. But, like, that's just kind of my general approach to life. Like, put yourself out there and let the world react to it. Don't hide yourself away. And I think that's what Kendrick represents.
Thing is like Kendrick, like you said earlier, Drake is the type of guy to go, like, song for song. Kendrick, his music, it all has a deep meaning. Like, the whole album has a deeper meaning behind it. So you can't just like throw random songs in there and then say, That was like the point of like Untitled Unmastered. That's the best songs that she had, and that's
Like,
that's just the random album.
when's the
But like
last time you listened to a Kendrick album front to back, though?
me,
Yeah.
I've listened to Damn at least 100 times.
Like front to back. Like,
Yes.
I mean,
I've
I
listened to.
just feel like a lot of people talk about, oh, Kendrick has like the full album mastery, but like so few people. I listen to albums front to back personally, but I feel like a lot of Kendrick supporters I've met just like have like Mad City and like just great single songs on repeat. Like they aren't like listening to Damn and breaking down all the meaning. They aren't listening to Pimp a Butterfly and looking at how it represents.
To Pimp a Butterfly is probably
It's
top
amazing
20 best albums of all time. Like, let's be honest.
But I just feel like a lot of Kendrick fans who talk about the meaning didn't get the meaning themselves, and they don't personally really resonate with a lot of the albums, but they listen to like some breakdown video, or they like listen to the, you know, Pulitzer Prize or something. And that's where they get like this idea of Kendrick as some, you know, like lyrical genius, which I think he is. But I think when you listen to Drake, you're able to personally resonate with the music a lot more, only because a lot of the meaning is not hidden between layers of symbolism, right? I think there's the question of like, what is the point of music? Is it to entertain? Is it to, you know, spread a message? I think it can be both, but I don't know. When I just listen to a lot of Kendrick, I just don't get a lot of the message. And I think that's why my favorite album, or one of my favorite albums, is actually Mr. Morale, because like that's a very universal message, right? Like breaking yourself down and like really analyzing who you are. So even though I think most people put Mr. Morale like among the bottom Kendrick albums, I'd say it's probably second to Good Kid, Mad City in like my personal ranking. And I think this is what actually surprises people, because I've debated this topic a lot. People know I'm a big Drake supporter.
Yeah, I can see you came in guns loaded with
but
that.
The reality is I listen deeply to both artists. Like I probably listen to more Kendrick than most Kendrick fans.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's like, I respect both artists. I just think Drake, I'd challenge you to listen to Look What You've Done. That's probably Drake's most
Look What You've Done
lyrical song.
Let me write that down like right now, actually.
On Take Care. But I just think when I listened to Take Care, like that was probably the first song I cried to. The first album I cried to was Take Care. And it was like, I just resonate with it personally a lot more. I love R&B. Like I mean, Amy Winehouse isn't really R&B, but she's like that type of singer. Yeah. I love a lot of Frank Ocean, Frank Sinatra.
We're talking about Kendrick Lamar dropping every 4 years. Whatever happened to Frank Ocean, man?
Yeah, Frank Ocean. Every time there's like,
I'm waiting for that drop. I'm waiting for that.
Just like, I love Frank Ocean, Frank Sinatra, Billy Joel, Amy Winehouse. Like, I'm a choir singer. I love vocals. I love singing. So I think that's also partially why I like Drake more. I think objectively he's the better singer than Kendrick.
Yes. No, 100%. 100%.
It's just, I kind of like that type of music more broadly more also.
Yeah. I really feel like both of them, they're like, though they're on like the same field, they both are very different in what they do. Like Kendrick is like lyrical and is like a rapper. Drake is a singer and just like that party vibe. Like Passion Fruit is like a party vibe, while as Luther also gives that party vibe. Like I'll be honest, like I don't know what you mean by, because I've heard many people bump Luther.
I just don't love Luther personally. I think it's like nice to listen. It's all right.
That's fair.
I think it's carried by SZA also. But.
Yes, no. SZA's absolute goat. My go-to like genre right now is R&B, like Brent Faiyaz, Sonder, Daniel Caesar, Bryson Tiller. That's my go-to right now. So, I've been listening to a lot of that. So I can definitely see where you're coming from. And obviously, you are a singer yourself. So, that singing aspect with Drake too, because he is a good singer. Like,
definitely.
Hey, love him or hate him, he is a good singer.
I do think, yes, Kendrick's very lyrical. I think a lot of people discount Drake's lyricism. A lot of, like, I think, Kanye, very controversial, but there's this clip of Kanye like 8 years ago where he was like, I wish Drake could ghostwrite every song for me. It'd be so much easier. It's like, I really hate a lot of the Drake ghostwriting allegations. Like, he has a team, yes, but I think we do need to give Drake his flowers. Like, he's a good writer. He's pretty lyrical.
The thing is, like, and like, not even just like our industry per se. Take the Indian industry, like the Indian music industry. None of those guys, like any of the singers, like in the Telugu music industry, none of those singers write their own stuff. Like, they get it from someone else. So why? I feel like, why is it so wrong here? I guess like when it comes to singing, that's fine. But rapping, I feel like, because that's like coming from the heart. Like, you have to write what you say, because rapping is like talking pretty much, like poetry.
I mean, I think it's also the distinction for why, like, it's very common to do a cover of another song, but it's not common to do a cover of another rap song. I think it's kind of what you said, like, rap is just a lot more personal. Like, if someone did a cover of, like, I don't know, Mad City, it wouldn't make sense.
It wouldn't be the same, yeah.
There's like Fiona Apple's cover of Across the Universe is like probably more popular than the original. Maybe, I don't know the numbers, but it's around as big as the original. So I think, yeah, it's just, there's something where like when you're singing, a lot of it's about the technique. Like Frank Sinatra, considered one of the best singers of all time, wrote none of his songs. Singing is a lot more about technique and like rendition, whereas rap, I think, is a lot more about the lyrics and the message. So yeah,
exactly. No, there's many ways you can go with that debate. It's probably the hottest debate topic in the past year, especially with all the stuff that's gone between those two. Definitely. But moving on from that, first off, congratulations on graduating high school. I know that's a big feat, and it definitely not an easy feat. Well, I mean, for you it probably was easy because you're like insanely smart based off the school you're going to. But speaking of school, as a senior that has graduated, what school have you committed to, and what about that college first attracted you to apply there and then also commit afterwards?
Yeah, so I committed to Harvard University. Kind of what attracted, I kind of went into the application process with I wasn't like filtering out at that level, because I was like, all these schools have like 3 or 4% acceptance rates, or at least most of the ones I was applying to. So it's like, what's the point in like, I felt like they were selecting me more than I was selecting them. I just felt like, let me apply to a wide variety of very competitive schools and make the decision on like which one I like after I see the ones I get into. So I didn't really put much thought into like, oh, should I apply to Harvard? Should I apply to Yale? Should I apply to Columbia? I just kind of like was like, let's see which ones select me. And I think that is like, because I feel like a lot of people do have like a dream school, and it's like Princeton or Stanford or Harvard or whatever, since they're like in 6th grade. But I was very much trying not to do that, because I was like, I don't want to get attached to a school which rejects 29 out of 30 people. So I didn't really put much thought into applying there, to be honest. So I applied to a lot of schools kind of at that selectivity range, applied to a couple safeties, targets, and then I got into a lot of those schools, and it very quickly became a decision between Harvard and Yale. I got into a couple other top schools, but I just decided that those two are probably the best for me. I mean, that was a relatively difficult decision. Yale actually gave me a likely letter, so they let me in early. Like, they called me, let me know in February, gave me some like guaranteed research funding. So that was the first like, I don't know, like dream school, I guess, which I got into. So it was like that made it harder also. But I think what really made me decide was a couple factors. There just seemed to be a lot stronger of like a startup in innovation culture. Like, there seemed to be a very strong startup and innovation culture at Harvard, especially with like the access to the MIT cross-registration and kind of just like the general Cambridge innovation culture. And I think colleges are very much defined by the legacy of their alumni. I think the legacy of like Zuckerberg and Gates dropping out of Harvard is like, it definitely fuels a lot of like wannabe, it fuels a feeling of like, they did it in these same dorm rooms, why can't I?
Exactly.
So yeah, the innovation culture, that's definitely the industry I want to go into, like early stage startups. And that felt very strong at Harvard. And then I'd say the location. I think Boston is the best college city probably in the country, only just because like there's nowhere else which has that concentration of college students. And also, Boston's not such a loud city where it like sucks away from the college environment. Like all the
Exactly.
Boston colleges I've been to still felt like they had a very, very strong, coherent campus culture. And I think that's not true for some other colleges in like bigger cities than Boston. I think Boston's like the perfect size to go to college in, where you still have a strong college community, but you also have that strong campus environment. So it's really location, innovation, culture. And honestly, I didn't even like consider like academics, alumni, all that too much. Because honestly, at that level, right, it's like Harvard and Yale, they're both great academically.
Crazy.
Both
Yeah.
have great reputations. So I think it kind of became more so looking at the differences. And I think like those were the two things which were clearly different about. Like at one, I could also have access to MIT and take MIT classes, where I just couldn't do that at the other. So I think it came down to those two to decide. Very tough decision, committed pretty close to May 1st.
Okay. I mean, obviously, either or. It's like crazy. You know, you did mention like a lot of people. You thought it was not the best idea to have that dream school starting in 6th grade. I am one to have fallen in that trap because let's see. This has been my dream school since like you said, this has been my dream school since 5th or 6th grade. And I'm like, obviously I've accepted the fact that, like you said, these schools are crazy hard to get into. So I've just accepted the fact that there's a chance I get in, but not too high of a chance. And, you know, that's just how life works. But obviously, you know, you had a bunch of crazy schools, you know, come in after you. What were the other schools, like top schools that got in other than Harvard and Yale?
I also got into Columbia, Brown, Duke, Dartmouth, Cornell, and like I guess like Berkeley, UCLA, Georgia Tech.
Did you go 8? Did you go 8 for the Ivies? How many Ivies did you apply to?
No, I got waitlisted from Princeton and Penn, so I went 6.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's not a rejection. Just say you went 8th grade,
It's a
bro.
waitlist. Yeah, I didn't get rejected.
It's basically an 8th grade, bro. What the heck?
Yeah, it's I don't know. I didn't want to ED anywhere. I didn't want to commit anywhere. Yeah, early decision just felt like a lot. So I just thought, let me just apply to a bunch of schools and see what works out. I think it's like a term. It's called shotgunning. So I kind of did that.
Yeah,
I
no.
probably didn't need to, but there's so much uncertainty with the process that it's like you may as well. And it's not like you're taking spots from someone else, because like the second you turn down that spot, someone off the wait list will get in. At the end of the day, the total class sizes are still going to be what they are. Those are planned almost a year in
Exactly.
advance. So yeah, I heavily recommend, if you're applying mainly to like Ivy League level schools, apply to a bunch of them.
Yeah, that's probably the plan. I still need to figure out what schools I want to apply to, which is going to. I only have a month until that season starts, and I don't know where I want to apply to or where to go. So I'm like shaking in my boots, and I don't like it.
Yeah, there's definitely. I'm probably the biggest procrastinator you'll meet. Like I submitted Harvard at 11:57, the night is due. Like Yale, like 11:52. Don't do that. Like I was very last minute. Like I finished my essays like the day of. Most people like start them months in advance.
And you still got a likely letter from me. Dang, you must be like a really good essay writer.
I mean, I had like the essays mostly written, but I like finished
Okay.
them day of.
Yeah.
I do think there was something for me with like spontaneity. Like the essays, I actually spent like the least time polishing. I felt were the best, because there's definitely a point of diminishing returns, and I'd honestly say a point of negative returns in the college essay writing process. But either way, I wouldn't recommend doing what I did. I just set the hard deadline for yourself as the day before.
Yeah, just to be safe, just in case anything goes haywire.
If the internet went down, I would have been cooked, right? It's,
Yeah.
maybe they would have taken a late. They definitely would have taken the late application. I looked that up before. They do, but like, why risk it? So
Yeah, that's also true.
no point in risking it. Yeah. Like I submitted Georgia Tech like at like 12:20, but still got in. So they do, like, for anyone listening, like if you're a little late, if you're like a minute late on your application, like they don't care.
They're not gonna look. Just don't
If they
submit
let
other
you
people.
submit it, they'll read it.
Yeah,
they eventually close the portal, and that's when they really don't accept it.
exactly. Exactly. I mean, take every shot you can, basically. Definitely. But obviously, to get into like Harvard and to get a likely letter from Yale, you must have some crazy extracurriculars and have that crazy passion for what you do, which you do. For example, you are the founder of Educate Hacks, an international hackathon, which, like I mentioned earlier, not only has had more than 5,000 members compete, but also has gained sponsorships from companies, big tech giants like Google and Deep AI. So, where'd you get this idea for this hackathon, and how did you build this event up?
Yeah, I think I just really noticed that a lot of edtech tools which are out there on the market are not student centric. They're built a lot more to appeal to the buyer, which is the administrator, and not actually the student. I think this is especially true on the B2B side, where you're selling to the school. B2B is like you're selling to the school or organization, whereas like B2C is something like Duolingo, where you're selling to a student or parent. And I felt like a lot of B2B edtech tools were not built with students' interests in mind. And then I also noticed the fact that a lot of students are building edtech tools, but a lot of the times, most of the times, they don't really go anywhere, especially the ones built by high schoolers. So I was thinking, what if I build a platform for high schoolers and college students to kind of take the projects which they already are building and try and give them funding, try and give them mentorship support from founders, give them AWS credits, and hopefully help them turn their projects into a real thing. So that's kind of what Educate Hacks was born out of. You know, it's like students want to create these tools, but they aren't able to turn them into real things. And there's also this market need where these tools are not addressing students' needs. So most hackathons are very much focused around the development part of things. Educate Hacks definitely is somewhat, but we focused, I think, unusually towards the business development part of things also. Like we required everyone presenting their project to also have a business plan and also have like a competitor map. Like you couldn't just present a product. So that was kind of what Educate Hacks was born out of, you know, this gap in the ed tech market. Started off as a really small thing, just like the computer science club I ran at my school and a couple local computer science clubs. I decided to post about it publicly on this website called DevPost. Didn't expect anything. And then we almost, I think it's like 140 people who saw it off of DevPost and want to participate virtually. So I think honestly, the biggest takeaway of like my whole Educate Hacks journey is if you're doing something, if you want to do something either way, do it in public. Build in public, post about it, whether it's on Twitter or Reddit, DevPost, whatever it is. You increase your chance for serendipity and someone reaching out and just something amazing happening when you do it publicly. The odds are you probably will fail, but at least when you do it publicly, when your failure is public, it makes the next opportunity and it makes the next thing just so much easier. So I think that's probably the biggest takeaway, like build in public, do things in public. That's what allowed Educate Hacks to scale and basically everything I've done to scale.
Definitely. I can see where you're coming from when it says like do it in public. Like take the podcast, for example. I've been very public about it, posting it on my Instagram to the point where I feel like my friends are like getting annoyed of seeing the words voice for you. Obviously, you know, reaching out, but you know, publicity is how things grow. You can't grow something with one person. That's just going to stay like one to one. You need publicity, and if you do it in front of the people, it feels like, you know, it's their own. So I definitely see where you're coming from when you say, you know, publicity 100%, because even if it's not like the same field, like yours is more in the tech, mine is more like journalism and business, like, you know, all that kind of stuff, you know, it's still the same thing at the end of the day. That's just a common goal that every leader should have at the end. So for sure. But, you know, with Educate Hacks, like I did mention, you did get companies like Google and Deep AI to sponsor. You know, these aren't your off third-party, like Bing looking, no offense to Bing looking search engines. This is the Google, you know, billions of dollars, and then Deep AI on the rise for like, pretty sure is that DeepSeek? And
No, it's different.
No, that's different. But, you know, still crazy AI. So how are you able to get them on board to sponsor your Educate Hacks?
I think the key was just cold emailing. We sent we had a spreadsheet and we like automated like 600 cold emails. Maybe 10 of them hit. The ones which hit were like really good. So I think for a lot of things, the answer is really just cold emailing, like when you're trying to get someone's attention. And I think the key is like, don't email the CEO of Google. He's never going to respond. But if you're kind of strategic with who you're cold emailing, like we cold emailed almost every like event partnership manager at Google. And that's a very specific person who probably doesn't get that many cold emails, right? Because it's like kind of middle manager, right? So yeah, we cold emailed and we were strategic with who we cold emailed. And I think that's just one of the examples where you need to like put in the time. It's like we manually scoured those emails. We manually personalized a lot of those emails, especially the ones to Google. And I just think there's no shortcuts with a lot of things like that. Like there's a lot of startups who I've talked with, especially in the edtech space, who, you know, there's no shortcut other than emailing thousands of school administrators around the country. And they literally had like a 1% or 0.5% hit rate for meetings, but that's really all they needed.
Exactly.
So yeah, cold email, and you need to put in the work. And yeah.
That's one of like the few things that there's like few things that everyone says throughout each interview, and cold emailing is one of those like 4 or 5. You know, take my example. If I didn't reach out to like your peers, or if you didn't reach out to me, we wouldn't be sitting here, you know, talking about, you know, cold emailing can go a long way. And like I've mentioned before, like you've mentioned, you can take 1,000 rejections, but that one acceptance is what really it can change a lot for a lot of people.
I think it's this whole idea of like asymmetrical upside, right? It's like the downside of sending a cold email is nothing. It's like 10 seconds of your time. The upside could be a new job. It could be a sponsorship. It could be something huge, right? I think like a lot of success in life is just trying to find those asymmetric upsides and then having the effort to actually jump into them.
Definitely. I mean, like you said, you got to be smart with who you cold email or cold message too. You can't be messaging like, who's the current CEO? Sundar Pichai. You can't be cold emailing him. He's not gonna check that. Like, he's a busy man. Like, he's the CEO of Google, so like, you can't do that. You can't be messaging for like Amazon. You can't be messaging Jeff Bezos. You gotta message those people. It's like, and that's smart, the event partnership, because that's their whole job to like, you know, partner with for other certain events. So you gotta be strategic with it too, because if you're not strategic with it, then you're not gonna see an acceptance. And everyone wants to see an acceptance, like a yes.
Yeah, definitely.
No one wants to see that.
That's kind of a really good point you made. Like, everyone wants to see an acceptance. Like, my general life philosophy is very optimistic. And I think kind of going into most things in life with the idea that like this other person wants to see me win. People want to see me win. Whether that's like, you know, as you enter college, right? Like your peers want to see you win. Like, I think a lot of people don't have that mentality. They kind of like to see, especially like some of these top colleges, they like to see them as like very competitive, right? Like, I think the reality is most people want to see you win. Most people want to see you achieve your goals. I think if you have that mentality, it's a lot easier to work with other people and be collaborative. So.
Exactly. Have that positive mentality to go through, you know, life. You know, they might not push it, like they might not put it on the very front. They're not gonna like come up to you and say, "Hey, I want to see you succeed," but they're not secretly hating. There's obviously gonna be like a few people preying on your downfall because like they're bums, but you know. The people who prey on your downfall, in my opinion, are the people that push you hardest because you want to prove them wrong in your journey. You don't want to show them that you are a top dog. And they're mad at you because you're doing something. My parents tell me, if anyone's hating on you, it's because you're doing something that they can't, which is a good thing in hindsight.
I think I've yet to meet someone who like was like hating on me or like hoping something I was working on didn't succeed, who was like doing better than me.
Exactly.
I've never met that. I don't think anyone's ever met that, right? Because it's like, I think most people who genuinely wish something you're doing to fail, I think it's usually out of a place of insecurity. I think, especially, this is what I've noticed with the whole college process. Like, the people most obsessed with college applications and like the people most obsessed with like college prestige are usually the ones who have some insecurity or are not fully happy about the college they're at, right? And it's like, you kind of need to drown out those people, because like I kind of listened to a lot of those people, and it just made things a lot more toxic and a lot more stressful than it had to be. I don't know, like the type of high school you go to. Luckily, mine had like pretty few of those people, thankfully. But like some high schools I have friends at, they're like filled with those people. Like some of these really competitive schools. But it's obviously true, not just for college applications, but generally, yeah, it's like most hating is done from a place of insecurity.
100%, 100%. You're always gonna run across people that are insecure. And my school, my class has 750 kids, and my school has like more than 3,000 students. So it's going to be competitive, especially for someone that takes, as an Indian, your parents always want you to take the best classes. Grades are a very big part of succeeding and stuff. So seeing that culture and taking only AP classes, you see the same kids over and over again. These are like the top of the top, like the smart kids, like the valedictorians, salutarians of my class. And I'm telling you, my class is very competitive. Like I do a lot and I still don't feel like I'm at the top. And that's a common thing amongst everybody. What's the word? Yeah. Imposter syndrome. Yeah.
I think the reality of that is like, no matter how much you do, you never will be at the top, right? Because it's like, I used to think like, oh, I might be at the top of the school I'm in. But as I started doing more and more things, I got exposure to different circles, right? And like,
exactly.
I got exposure to, some certain tech circles. I realized like, the world's a lot bigger than you think it is.
Exactly.
Even if you think you're like the top dog at your high school, the second you start doing things, work at a company, you just get exposure to so many other people, and you'll realize that you're not ever going to be the best, right?
Exactly.
You should strive for it. But the reality is like, I don't know, like Zuckerberg, Bezos, like there's so few people who are actually like the very best at what they do.
Exactly.
I think it's being comfortable with the idea that there's always going to be a bigger dog than you. And I think it takes like humility to be comfortable with that fact. Because the reality is as you keep achieving, you're going to break free from the circle you're in. And you're going to realize the achievement that allowed you to break free was really not that exceptional. And yeah, that process, it's called the hedonic treadmill, I think.
Okay. I didn't know there was a word for that. Okay. That's interesting.
It's like your baseline level of dopamine, no matter how much you achieve, always kind of reverts to a certain level. And I kind of felt like it because like I used to think about college a lot, but then I like got into the college of my choice, and it like made me feel good for like a day or two, then just faded away.
Yeah, life moves on. You're not gonna be mulling over. Actually, it depends on the person, because if like my parents ever heard that I got into Harvard, I don't think my parents would ever shut up about it. Like I know like there was someone in my town that got into Harvard like 10 years ago. Not 10 years, maybe like a long time ago, like 6-7 years ago. My dad still talks about it to this day. Like it just depends on the person too, because for us, we're like, you are gonna go live through it, but like your parents are probably like super proud of, like, when it comes to like Indian parents, Harvard is the school. Like it is the school.
True. But I do think there's something to like, once I got into Harvard, then I started thinking about, which clubs at Harvard are like best, right? Or it's like you start optimizing for something else. And like once I get that, you start optimizing for something else. Like I think it's the human tendency, if you're an ambitious person, to just constantly strive for more, even once you achieve your goals. So I think like this idea that it'll never be enough and you'll never be the best is actually a very productive idea, because then it forces you to look for meaning in things outside of your achievements. Because the reality is, no matter how much you achieve, it'll never be enough, right? It'll never fill the void of meaning just from achievements. You need to get that from your friends, your family, hobbies, like something else. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Sorry if I'm getting like philosophical here.
No, the side of you which you are passionate about. Philosophy is just passion on a more broad level.
Definitely. Yeah.
But I can see where you're coming from. There, if you don't surround yourself with the right people, then it's really just downhill. Like I'll be honest, you gotta have a good. Obviously, you have to have a good academic life, but your social life matters as much. Goes to there too. and just talking to new people in general. Like, I don't know if it's just me. I wouldn't say I'm a extrovert. Like, I would say I'm an ambivert, like an introvert and extrovert. But, it's just nice to talk to new people and, learn about where they come from and what their life is. Because no one person lives the same life, So definitely.
No, I think philosophy's been really good for me. I think there's this one book. This is kind of like the default book, but it's like Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. But I'd say that's probably like the most impactful philosophical text for me. And it's written by a Roman emperor, Marcus Aurelius.
Yes.
And it's
Yes. I was just about to say, I didn't want to sound like racist or anything, so I was trying to hold back. But yes, I took Latin, so I know my Roman kings a little bit.
But
I
I think what I find most interesting about it is like he's the king or the emperor of the known world, and this is his personal diary. And the first chapter of it is he's like, to his father, to the gods, to my city, to my town. And he lists out like 200 things which he views as what made him, like who he's thankful for. And it's like, look what you've made me. And I think it's like, even him, who is like, he literally rules the known universe. In his mind, he rules the entire world. Yet he still starts his diary with everyone he's thankful to and saying, I couldn't have been who I am without you. I think it shows like, if he's able to be humble, then like I have to be humble.
Definitely. But philosophy is definitely something good for anybody in any stage, just to, especially in like the business and tech scene. If you don't stand on your stuff, then it's like, especially in business, and you probably did use a little bit of philosophy when it came to, Schoolyard, which you have founded, and you were a former founder. Well, you were a founder and you sold Schoolyard. So what is the purpose behind it?
I think I really noticed that a lot of school community was destroyed over the course of the pandemic. Clubs met less, they met less frequently, there are less people at the meetings, and just kind of in general, if you look at like nationwide statistics, participation in like extracurriculars was down. And there's just this idea that like school spirit, right? Like I'm proud to go to X school was reduced. So I kind of created like a Schoolyard out of that vision, right? It's like we should have school spirit. We should feel proud of the community we're in, and the school communities we're in should be welcoming to everyone. So it's just kind of like this central messaging board accessible to everyone who went to a certain school. And then also a place to organize club meetings, organize events. And it's just a pretty basic app. And then we launched at our school, scaled to some other schools. But it was very much out of this vision that, there should be a strong school community. And how can we rebuild what I viewed as what we lost over the pandemic? And we're just kind of starting having a business model by, the time we eventually went through the acquisition process. But the model was we're going to sell to private schools. And we actually had a private school who we're like doing a pilot at. But the plan was that, if you strengthen the school community to a certain private school, you could increase retention from year to year, which would be profitable and worth paying for. And yeah, what really kicked that off though is we got a grant from this organization called 1517, and they fund high schoolers and people without college degrees. So they fund a lot of dropouts also. But It's called 1517 Fund, and I don't think Schoolyard would have existed without that $1,000 grant. So
Definitely. There's always going to be a backbone behind things, especially at this young of a stage for anybody. And it is a good thing. I was looking over on my other screen here because I have like the names. I feel like I do have the name Schoolyard just in the back of my mind for an app. So I was just searching it up to see if it was, and maybe I feel like it's triggering something.
But I think the biggest thing with that 1517 thing is like I was like 14 when they gave it to me, and the $1,000 like honestly wasn't that relevant. But I think the idea that like a real VC firm which has invested in unicorn companies is giving money to me. I think the term is like belief capital. Like I think the idea of like once you're a successful person or when you're a successful person, even giving back in a very small way to people earlier in the journey it's not necessarily about what you do for them, like if you give them a bit of money or if you give them an introduction. But I think this idea of someone in this position believes in me, I think is genuinely one of the most meaningful things you could do.
Definitely.
And I think, yeah, the confidence that gave me as a 14-year-old trying to build something for the first time is definitely what allowed me to thug out like the almost 6 months of just like building it by myself. I just don't think I would have had the conviction to do that without that belief capital.
Definitely. I mean, that is true. Not only $1,000 ain't a lot, but the belief system that someone believes in you 100% can push you a far away. But how were you able to build Schoolyard to the point where a sale did happen?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing was we're very intentional. It's like who I told. Like, I think if you do want to get acquired, most companies are not sold, they're bought. Like for Schoolyard, someone else came to me as someone else was interested in us. So I think it kind of goes back to this idea of building in public, right? Your company's probably not going to get acquired if you just build it and get users and scale in silence. I was very intentional with like setting up meetings with advisors, letting people know, and just trying to like have a presence in like the ed tech scene. And I think that's what really allowed us to get to that point. I think in terms of like how I built it, I also like learned to code through the process of building Schoolyard. Like it was via, like I didn't really know how to build a mobile app before building Schoolyard. I was just like, I'll figure it out along the way. And I think that's like a big thing, which like I admire about myself back then, which I definitely am still trying to hold on to. Like this idea of like, oh, I'm just going to figure it out. It's like, I think as you get older and as your time becomes more valuable and as there's more opportunity cost to everything you do, it's very easy to shy away from that mentality. I think to some degree I'm shying away from that mentality and I don't want to, right? It's like this idea of, oh, let me just do something. I don't really know how to do it, but I'll just figure it out. And I have enough trust in myself to believe that I will figure it out. I think that's what allowed me to build Schoolyard fundamentally. I didn't have the skill set, I didn't have the connections, but I kind of made those through the process of building it. And I think that belief in myself was really important. And I think also the fact that the opportunity cost was non-existent, right? It's like a year of my time going from 14 to 15 is not. I didn't have much else going on.
Exactly. I mean, 14 to 15 is like freshman to sophomore year.
Yeah. I started building it beginning of freshman, launched it second week of sophomore. So.
Okay. Yeah, my freshman year, I had no idea about school. I was still trying to figure, dude, freshman year was rough for me. Like grades wise, it was the hardest year in grades for me because I feel like that 8th grade to 9th grade jump is like, it really is pretty big and it takes a little bit to adjust. So
Definitely.
I wasn't in no clubs. Like the most influential club I probably was in was SASA as a member, South Asian Student Alliance as a member. So the fact you were doing crazy stuff like that freshman year itself is pretty crazy to say the least, for sure.
I think the biggest thing is like, is very much like, I thought the app had like genuine potential to like scale nationwide and become huge. And it didn't like live up to all of my like dreams, but I think having like genuine ambition and like everything you do, like if I was like, oh, let me build this app so it'd look good for my college applications, I don't think I would have ever had it. I just it was so brutal. Like in the month like leading up to the launch, I had to like stay up until like 1 a.m. almost like every night, just like debugging because I didn't know what Amazon Web Services was and I didn't know how to host a server on there. I just had to figure it out. Like there's no way I would have been willing to do that if I just had like this idea of let me do this for college. I think
did you have a team with you?
So like I had one co-founder who like left after 2 months. So no. And then like, yeah, once we got some grant funding, we got a couple, I was able to like hire a designer part-time, but I was the only person working on it full-time. Or not full-time, but like continuously. Yeah. That made it a lot harder. Like if I could, now like I feel like I could find a co-founder if I were to do another project like that. Back then I just didn't know people. Like I wasn't integrated into like the tech ecosystem. And it's really hard to find a co-founder. And I feel like if I
Yeah.
did have a co-founder, things could have gone very differently. But
It's super hard to carry anything just by yourself on your shoulders. But not too many co-founders, but maybe one or two for sure. 100%. But you are very passionate when it comes to the ed tech space, and especially when it comes to startups. So obviously you did finish with Schoolyard, and obviously with someone that is passionate with startups, you're definitely not, just by yourself. So is there any other startups you're currently working on and you're willing to talk about?
yeah, sure. So right now, as I mentioned before, I'm interning at a AI startup called Linus Labs, and we're essentially trying to build the Duolingo of the SAT. Both of the founders have a background in gaming. So I think the fundamental question we're trying to answer is like, can we make learning the SAT genuinely fun? I think it's a pretty tall task, but I think we're doing a good job at solving it. And I really love the company. It's like very mission driven. It's remote, but they have like these offsites across the country. Like 2 weeks ago, they had one in Bozeman, which is just crazy. Like they flew people from like New York and San Francisco and everywhere to like Yellowstone, which was insane. Just like, I think that's a great thing to do as a company. So that's kind of like the job I'm working at. But in terms of like startup, I've really thought deeply about the role of like genetics. I think, personalized medicine is probably going to be the next like $1 trillion company. I think it's just universal. So yeah, I was thinking a lot about the role that now we could sequence a human genome for like a couple $100. What role will that play in personalized medicine? There's a lot of startups doing things in this space, like nucleus genomics is probably the most popular one. But I was specifically looking in the field of ADHD. Like there's a lot of interesting research that like, once you understand someone who has ADHD's genetics, you could figure out which, like usually people who have ADHD and want to use drugs or a drug to help with their symptoms, I think on average they go through 2.4 drugs until they find a good one. But if you have an understanding of genetics, you could often find the right drug on the first try. And there's some research around that. And then there's also a lot of other research that like certain genetic patterns can correlate with certain coping mechanisms for ADHD. So I was just thinking a lot about like, what would personalized genetic healthcare look like for people who have ADHD or depression? And is there a way to build like a software solution which does that? Very vague idea, very, very vague. But I think there's something in this field of personalized medicine enabled by the human genome, which I'm trying to discover if that is a startup, but I think it could be.
Definitely. Let me shoot my shot real quick. So if y'all ever need a marketing intern per se, I'm looking for some internships too. I'm very big on the marketing scene when it comes to like graphic design and all this. So if you ever need it, like when it comes to any of your startups, you need a marketing intern, and I'm willing to do it for free too. Just experience itself is valuable to me. So if y'all need anybody, I just had to shoot my shot.
Yeah, I'll definitely reach out. You seem like a great person, but
Definitely.
Yeah, in terms of like my own startup, that's kind of just like a lot of like, it's a very vague idea. It's like kind of coursing around in my mind, but I think it's a very interesting space. It's like we go to the doctor and we kind of just get the same treatment plan, same tests as everyone else. But now we can understand people's individual genetics, and for a pretty cheap cost, we can really personalize the medical experience to each person. So yeah, I think there's something, but yeah, it's very vague right now. But if I do end up doing something in that space, I'll definitely reach out.
Definitely. What was I gonna say? Yeah, but starting a business in general is super hard. Getting an idea is super hard. That's something I've always wanted to do, but it's so hard to just sit down, and it's a time commitment, like you said. So props for the grind, man. That's truly something that a lot of people don't have. And and the fact you're doing this over and over again with multiple different companies, definitely for sure is something. And obviously you probably did get the like grit and grind, because outside of the tech space you are, like you mentioned, an Eagle Scout. Scouting, like you mentioned, is played a big part. And I know as an Eagle Scout you have a project at the end of the year as like final completion before you graduate Boy Scouts. So what was your Eagle Scout project on?
Yes, my Eagle Scout project was with my local temple, and we built a little library, benches, and a couple other woodworking projects for them. And kind of the idea was like this was a place I'd gone to for, since before I was, or like my parents have gone to before I was born, and I've gone to since I was young. And I was very much of the mentality, like, how can I give back to this place, which has kind of given me a lot. And I also want to, like, there's a lot of Eagle projects which are kind of like more organizational in nature. Like, let's organize a food drive. Let's organize, there's like a tech repair project, which those are all great projects, very interesting. But I'm like, that is so much of what I do in like my out of scouting life, like organizing events, things like this, that I was like, let me try and do something like woodworking. Like I cut wood for the first time and I like actually assembled things hands on. So I was very much like, I want to do something different from the things I'm used to doing. So yeah, that's my project. And I really enjoyed it. It's very fun.
Definitely. Scouts does help more than realized. I was a Cub Scout in like 5th grade, and then I did do Boy Scouts for a couple of months in like 9th grade. To be honest, the environment which I was put into, I was not obviously, if you're going to do anything for long term, you have to be like fine and comfortable in the environment which you were in. And I just wasn't, the most comfortable in that environment.
I think with scouting, it's so dependent on the troop you're in.
Exactly. The troop's what makes a big difference. And remember the first day I went to Scouts, the first time I ever went to Scouts, just to give it a try, I was leaving and all like a whole group of the troop members were just talking shit about me. Like right as like they were walking right behind me and they were talking like a bunch of jack about me. So, you got to have that right. If for anything, you need to have that right community, because if they don't want to welcome you, then why should you like be there?
It's also like having the self-respect to realize that and just leave. Like, I think that's a big thing. Like, I think for you and for me and for most people, it's like your presence in someone else's life improves their life, right? Like people want social connection, right? Like you being in someone's life helps improve their life. It's not the other way around. So if someone's not giving you the respect you deserve for the role you're playing, then just leave, right? Like
exactly,
improve someone else's life. You don't have to be part of their group. You don't have to be part of any group, right? It's like, I think you need to have a high level of self-respect for yourself.
Definitely.
And I think it's good that you did.
And don't get me wrong, there were some great people there, like some really good people, but I don't know. It's just the environment wasn't for me. And I also started, like, a lot of those kids have been doing it since like 6th grade. I just started again like in 9th grade. I've lost my Cub Scouts book from 5th grade, so I was starting from scratch, and you have to be doing it for a long time in order to rise up the ranks and stuff. But definitely. And also Boy Scouts, when you say Boy Scouts, it's usually like very Christian affiliated, So the fact that you were able to do it at your local temple, like, did you have any what was the logistics behind all that?
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, our troop was at our local church, is like where we met, but my Eagle project was at my local temple. And honestly, I don't think anyone, I definitely go to a very welcoming troop. We are somewhat diverse, but it almost like doesn't matter. It's like a lot of people from different religions, came to the temple and helped, and no one really cared that it was at a temple. Like, I think, especially the area I'm in and the troop I'm in is just incredibly open-minded and I just don't think anyone like cared. I think it's a very open-minded troop, and I'm very grateful for that. Yeah, I think it's just, we sent out an email to everyone in the troop, like 10 or 15 people showed up on a Saturday morning, that's a pretty big ask, honestly. Show up for 6 hours on a Saturday. And yeah, we got it done. And then it was like 5 of us came back on Sunday to just put some finishing touches on the things.
That's what impacts society in the large run, having that group.
And it's also like amazing because now, like, when I go back, like, I built that bench and like I could sit in it. I see people sitting in it, and like the library and like I see people using it and all these other things. It's like there's something to like. And I think even when you launch an app for the first time, right? It's like, I built that. And like, you get a really unique sense of pride. It's like almost like unlike anything I've ever experienced when something you built is being used by someone else.
Yeah.
I remember when I launched Schoolyard for the first time, just reloading the database and seeing people's whose names I recognized pouring in. Like that's definitely a core memory. That's probably like one of the best moments of my life.
No, 100.
And it's like, whether it's the Eagle Scout project, I think the pride you get, that's why like I always encourage people to like build something, because like that sense of pride is just unlike anything else. And yeah, that was definitely true for my Eagle project also.
Definitely. I mean, that same thing with like the podcast. I just every day I just reload, seeing that it's still a little bit slow when it comes to like views and stuff. But seeing that people are actually viewing the content, and it gives you a sense of like fulfillment, like you're actually doing something meaningful, and people actually care enough to be with you on that journey. So 100%. But not only are you an Eagle Scout and a ed tech guy, but like you've mentioned with our little debate at the beginning of this interview, you are very musically active, a part of your high school choir. So first off, what group are you in? Like, are you alto or baritone or?
I'm a bass 2.
Bass 2. Okay. See, I've always like wanted to know what I am, because I never did choir. And
You'd probably be like a baritone, probably.
Baritone,
or maybe tenor too. It like sometimes I'm like a baritone also, depending on the song.
Yeah. Because like the highest note I can hit is like it's like in like the 4th octave. I can hit a 4th octave, but I can also go pretty low to like the 2nd octave. So I don't know where that would fall per se, but but what is your favorite piece to sing, or like favorite genre to sing in your opinion?
I don't even know if it's a genre. I just love singing Billy Joel. It's
Okay.
like my favorite song to sing is probably For the Longest Time by Billy Joel. Like to sing a cappella. I just think he is probably the greatest post-war American songwriter. He is definitely in my top 3 of artists. He is just like, it's very obvious what his songs are about, and it's very emotionally resonant, and it's very easy to sing along to, and it's not like super technically complex. Yet there's so much you could technically appreciate about Billy Joel. So I guess that'd be like maybe pop rock, you could almost call it, like traditional rock might be a genre. But yeah,
that was big back then. I know too, like the pop rock stuff. Just rock in general was pretty big back then.
Yeah. Billy Joel, like The Stranger by Billy Joel was probably my favorite album, or at least top 5 favorite albums. So yeah, I love singing his songs. Like, and also Piano Man, Vienna. Those are just 2 songs. I've only sung those 3 songs by him. You could sing. He has so many songs you could sing along to. It's kind of hard because like the group I sang with was primarily a cappella based, and like a lot of his songs are like heavy guitar songs, and like like for example, Scenes from an Italian Restaurant, huge song of his. You can't really sing it because it has like a 2-minute long guitar riff, right? And we don't have a guitarist.
So definitely, how has being a part of your high school choir, how has that like changed your outlook on life per se?
I think it's really easy to kind of get sucked into like the Silicon Valley dogma of like, tech is kind of the end all be all. Like I lived in San Francisco last summer, and you could very much experience that kind of single-mindedness on like the end goal in life is to like found a successful company. And to some degree, that mentality has enabled success. But I think, being in touch with like the musical side of me, and even like appreciating the technical mastery that is in music. Like we sang Mozart's Requiem. And like you could appreciate just the pure technical mastery which went into creating that. And that was like one of the most amazing songs I've sung also, Requiem. And I think just being able to transcend like that almost purely technical point of view, it allows you to find meaning in a lot of other ways. I think it's a lot healthier to have a hobby in general, especially if you are involved in technical things. Because like there's a lot of things on Twitter, you see people who are like very deep and single-minded into it. And I think kind of more broadly, there's this idea in 6th grade that you're either a STEM kid or you're a music arts kid.
Exactly.
I guess like the college application process kind of like incentivizes that mold fitting, like picking a spike almost. And I think it's just very dangerous because like the reality is Einstein, greatest mathematician, greatest physicist of all time, said he couldn't have done what he did if he didn't study philosophy, which is traditionally in the humanities. You could come up with many other examples in that vein. But I think joining the school choir just really allowed me to break the STEM kid mold, which defined me up until like 9th grade and would have defined me completely if I didn't join the choir. So yeah, TLDR, it's very easy to get stuck in molds from the environment you're in, from the people you surround yourself with. And I think you miss out on a lot of the beauty in life if you do that. And I think joining choir really allowed me to break free from that and gain a deep appreciation for music, which is an amazing source of joy now. So
Definitely. I am one to have fallen under that mold too, because I can't tell you what I am personally. I've been both. Like, my extracurriculars also show the same. I have extracurriculars in biomedical engineering. I have business. I have journalism. I have like mixed media and arts and all that. So you can't really put yourself into one singular mold, because if you do, then long story short, whatever you might not realize, but you might be super heavy on stems, but humanity is going to affect you a little bit, or vice versa, or they both play a big part. So 100%.
And also the reality is, like, we're 16, 17, right?
Exactly.
Like, it's far too early to specialize and pick a mold, which is going to, like, there is definitely a place for specialization, especially as you become a professional or create a company, right? You need to specialize in the area you're building in. But now, when you're in high school, like, it's one of the last opportunities to really, like, in a carefree manner, explore the world and see what's out there and decide what you actually like, as opposed to just fitting in a mold someone else puts you in when you're in like 6th grade, when you have no agency. So it's like, you might as well take advantage of that. So yes, eventually specialize, but do we really need to specialize by the time we're 15? Like, I think, no, we shouldn't.
Exactly. No, I definitely agree with what you're saying. We're young. We're still young at heart, and specialization now is just gonna deteriorate the young mind per se. So
it's a lot less fun. Also, I mean, if you do find your like undying passion when you're like 15 or 16, 100% go deep into it. But I think the reality is most people don't. Right. And the reason they do go deep into a certain area is because they want to like create a narrative for college applications. That's just kind of what they're used to doing, right? They're used to an area, so they keep going in that area when it's not really their like deep passion. So I think unless if you genuinely believe you've found your lifelong passion, really be willing and open to just exploring everything and seeing what resonates with you.
Definitely. No, I can see where you're coming from there. Passion.
The reason I add that caveat is because, like, I know this 16-year-old who, like, since he was 11, he's been obsessed with astronomy, and now he like wants to be a theoretical physicist. I'm like, that's a completely valid thing. That's 100% valid. But the reality is,
completely valid.
Most people aren't like that.
Yes.
So if you aren't,
explore. It does. Yeah, it definitely takes a sec to figure out what you're passionate about, and if you don't venture into those fields, you're never going to figure out what you are truly passionate about. So I definitely agree with what you're saying there for sure. But with all of these accomplishments, the part of your choir, the ed tech space, the Boy Scouts, and all that, you were able to earn the Coca-Cola scholarship, very prestigious, 0.15% of students across the nation get. So how did all of it process through your head? Like, when it comes to just like the process, the interviews and all that. And then how was that experience going to the World of Coke in Atlanta, Georgia?
Yeah, I think I kind of went into it with very low expectations. Like, no one from my school has ever won Coke. I didn't even know what it was until like a week before someone texted it to me. So it wasn't like, I think a lot of people like know about it because people in their high school have won it, or their high school promotes people to apply. It's kind of like a lot bigger of a thing applying. I just kind of applied like, very much like, okay, I was applying to a couple scholarships. Like, this seems cool. 20K is a lot of money. Let me try and get it. So I applied, like, found out about it the week before, decided to toss my hat in the ring. The only real strategy I employed was like I very much emphasized leadership. I think the thing with all these scholarships is like they kind of tell you what they want, right? It's like I went on the values page and they had like pages on pages of like what they wanted and like why the scholarship was formed. And I think for the most part, like they're not trying to lie to you. Like they're very honest. Like if you go to like a lot of local scholarships, you see they're founded about, you know, to model after a certain person and their values. So I think if you're applying to Coca-Cola or any scholarship, really, they're very explicit about what they want for the most part. It's like take the effort to actually read and process what they publicly say they want. And I think if you do that, you're already above like 95% of applicants because most people don't do that. Most people don't take the effort to like scour the webpage. So yeah, that was kind of my application strategy. The only time when I started like really taking it seriously was when I got to semifinalist because I was like, okay, now it's 1,000 people and 150 of us will get it. So like now I'm really in the running. So I reached out to just a couple Coke scholars on Instagram. I just found their name on the website and I saw the ones in my area. And I had a couple meetings and I think I was kind of really scared at the regional finalist part because there's like 250 of us and 150 are going to get selected.
Exactly.
Like that's just crazy. And it's like a 20-minute meeting, which is like how like that's so arbitrary almost, right? It's like how are you cutting 40% of us? Like because
Exactly with one.
Yeah, it's like so obvious because the quality was so high. Like I looked up the other regional finalists in my area. There's like 6 of us on LinkedIn. I'm like, you need to cut 2 or 3 of us. Like, how do you even do that? It's like
Exactly.
So yeah, I was pretty scared then. I talked with like 2 or 3 ex-Coke scholars. They said really just they know everyone's achieved at that level. You need to let your character shine through. So I like joked about like doing stand-up comedy, which I do that, but I like let them know. And I just like was really personable, I think. Like I tried to make them like me beyond bragging. Because I think at that level, they know your achievements. They read my resume. Why do I need to reiterate that, right? There's no point. I need to show them something new. So I was very much like, let me go deep into the personality. Like, who am I really? I don't even think I mentioned a single one of my extracurriculars in that 20-minute meeting. I think they asked for one question that I did, but I didn't mention it on my own. So yes, that's how I did the application process. And in terms of like the actual world of Coke, it was like an amazing 3 days. Like I made some pretty close friends. But I think the real takeaway is just very humbling, right? It's like I got into Harvard and like that was a big thing in my community. But like when you go to World of Coke, like everyone got into Harvard.
Yeah.
Or like some crazy school. And it's like, it's just very humbling. It's like very much like, but in a very good way. It's like, this is possible. It's like people my age are doing these amazing things. And sure, I'm doing like quote unquote, you know, amazing things in like this specific vertical. But you kind of get exposure to like how many different things you could do, whether it's like biomedical research or some people are journalists at a really high level.
Exactly.
And it's just exposure to what excellence looks like across many different verticals outside of tech was really inspirational, something I didn't get much of. And it just pushed me to do better. It's just really refreshing. And I think that's what I'm most excited about for college. Like I think being surrounded by people who are like excellent across the board, like amazing musicians, playwrights, journalists, and then also amazing tech people also. I think that just pushes you a lot more than just being surrounded by amazing tech people, which I think was the communities I was in before Coke.
Definitely. Obviously, there's a lot, like when I say a lot of Coke scholars committed to Harvard. So, you know, you have that satisfaction of the fact that, you know, going into Harvard, you do know a couple of people because there are a lot of people committed to Harvard.
I'd say it's probably like 30 or 40 Harvards and like 30 or 40 Harvards. So it's crazy.
Yeah, there was a lot. Half the people I've interviewed so far are, you know, Harvard commits, including yourself. So, you know, it's a very big class. And that's a good thing too, because you're not going in there alone. You have 30 other people who you can, you know, talk to, and, you know, they're going through the same experiences as you. So definitely. And, you know, that is true. Like when it comes to the humbling experience, you know, Harvard, like any top school is going to be a big thing in your community. But then when you get to like something like that, you just realize, shoot, everyone's just like you. They're like just like me. And that's one thing too. I've talked to many people. Coke did a good job choosing people with actual lives outside of just academics. You know, you do Boy Scouts, you sing in your choir. We didn't mention it, but you are very athletically active too. there's a lot of stuff that makes you more of a whole person rather than just, studies, studies, studies. That's the Indian mentality, studies, studies, studies. But that's not what it makes a true person. A true person is based off who they are.
I think that's an actual question in the interview. Is like, oh, you've done all these impressive things. Like, what's like the most, like something you've done outside of the resume? What's not on your resume? And that's when I mentioned comedy.
Exactly. Have you thought about doing stand-up comedy?
No, I have done like
You have?
open
Okay.
mics. Yeah. I've never done like my own show or anything. But like if you're in New York, you could just sign up for an open mic.
Really? I thought, because I want to do stand-up comedy too. That seems super interesting. I feel like I'd be good at stand-up comedy.
You could just sign up for an open mic, 10 minutes. So,
Thing is, I thought, because a lot of them are in bars, right? So I thought you have to be at least 21 to get
you need to
into
do
one.
some looking, but a lot of them are 16 plus and a lot of them
Okay.
are 14 plus. But yeah, most of them. Well, the thing is, like most bars, right? It's like they'll let you in if it's like an event, but you need a specific bracelet to like get drinks.
Exactly.
Obviously, you wouldn't have the bracelet, but they'll still let you in even if you're under 21.
How many sets have you done?
Probably done like 7 at this point.
Okay.
But I haven't done as many recently. I've just been very busy. Haven't gone to New York as much.
Completely. Yeah.
It's been really fun. It's been very uncomfortable. I'm not great at it, but it's like funny. I kind of did it first on a dare, and yeah, I found it interesting. It's just such a low commitment thing, and it's like
Exactly.
it's funny.
Just go on stage and yap. Like, let's be so honest.
And it's like it's not like a show. It's like there's like
Exactly. That's always something I've always wanted to do. Exactly. I don't know if there's any, because like I'm from Memphis, right? So first off, I'm a little scared to go in the nightlife in Memphis.
Yeah,
so
that makes sense. But if you're in New York, and I'm sure you'll eventually be in New York for something.
Yeah, hopefully. But especially when I get older, I want to try. That truly does seem like something like super cool. I used to watch like comedians like on AGT and just normal comedians like comedy specials just over and over and over again. And I was like super interested on doing comedy. I remember I sat down one day, 30 minutes, I was just writing jokes. Stand-up comedy isn't your normal dad joke too.
No,
it's like actually
stories.
Exactly, it's stories. And then to make like I was watching this video, to make people laugh, what you do is you're going one way, right? You throw a curveball like that, and now it's like hilarious.
Curveball, yeah.
Exactly. But there's stuff. That's the thing with me. Like, I don't know if I get to that stage. I feel like I just throw everything I do in my life into my resume just to make me seem like super like rawr. And then okay, but just ignore that part. But just like a big guy, and that's truly something you gotta think. You gotta think deep on that too, for sure, 100%. But at the end of all this, why do you believe you were named a Koch Scholar?
Honestly, and I think this is probably my biggest takeaway of everything, I think a lot of it is random. Like, I think a lot of times when like people get into certain colleges or like get certain accolades, they think they like know exactly how to get them, and then they like, say X method works. But I think there's like a lot of randomness to life. Like when they talked about the process, it's like, oh, sometimes we pick scholars from certain areas because we like kind of have never done it from that area before. And colleges have these things called institutional priorities, where it's like they need people in a certain major. Like Yale has an institutional priority of taking more engineering kids and like data science kids. And certain majors are like explicit priorities for them. And obviously, like, it's not like they completely lower the bar for them, but there is a bit of randomness where like, if you get in as one of those majors, like the process was a little bit different for you than for anyone else, right? So I think the reality is like there's a lot of entropy and randomness that defines any of these processes where you shave down. Because like if you're applying to the Koch scholarship, you're probably pretty smart already, right?
Exactly.
Like you're shaving from 100,000 pretty smart kids to like just 150. Like you can't tell me that at least a couple of those people were not as qualified as me. Like I'm sure at least some of them were more qualified than me. So to some degree, it is randomness. And I don't know if I could give the best answer. So I'm just going to preface it with the randomness. I think what really stood out, though, is I had a clarity of vision, right? It's like, what do I actually want to affect the world by doing? It's like, I want to figure out how to use technology to create change in these areas of public good, whether it's like education or healthcare or just kind of these general ideas of like public goods.
Exactly.
And I think there is something to like when you're asking someone to give you money to back you, you need to show a clarity of vision with what are you going to do with it. You give me this 20K to go to college. Like, what is that supporting? So I think when it comes to scholarships like the Coca-Cola scholarship, having a clarity of vision in what you want to do, good. And I think that's what stood out. I had a very clear vision. My activities were in line with it. And at the same time, when I had that, in my essays, I didn't really talk about that. I let my activities speak for themselves. And I think I showed that I was able to think about the world in kind of a broad way. I think that's also true in college applications, right? Like a lot of people write about their activities in their essays, but really like let your activities speak for themselves and use your essays for another purpose. But again, these are like kind of a little generic answers. And the reality is a lot of it was randomness. A lot of it was things I achieved beforehand. And I think it's important to realize the role that luck and randomness plays in your success, or else your ego will grow at a rate which it shouldn't. So
Exactly. No, randomness does play a big role in anything, especially the college process. Any process, application-wise, luck got to be on your side in order to get it. Otherwise,
yeah. And it's like I very much like adjusted as I went through the process. Like I was like, oh, it's pretty random. Like when I was regional finalist, I was like, it's not really random. Now it's very much like
personal. Now it's personal.
Like, now it's personal. And now it's like I have a 60% chance of winning this. So it's like, let me.
Exactly.
So I
But you
think
can't let it get all to your head.
Yeah. It's like realizing when randomness is a factor, realizing when you control the outcome. You don't always know that, but when you can figure that out, it's important to find that distinction. So, yeah.
Exactly. No, definitely. For sure. I see where you're coming from there. For sure. But to round out this episode, the Voice for You podcast is, the tagline is to empower the leaders of today and tomorrow. That is the main tagline that we run by. Mm-hmm. So what is some advice as a student leader yourself? What is some advice that you can give to either me, the audience members, or anybody in general who's trying to be a leader in their own community?
Yeah. I think the biggest piece of advice I kind of give to everyone is you need to just go to the world with an almost like reckless sense of optimism. I think I kind of take that mentality to everything I do. It's like, okay, sure, I submitted my college apps like 10 minutes before, because like, why not? Like, it'll work out, right? And that's kind of the reckless part of it. But like, just this idea of I will figure it out. I'm going to just do this thing. I'm going to launch this project. I'm going to put time into these activities, not because I know they work, to get into a certain college, but because I think they'll be personally meaningful to me. I think this idea of having a genuine sense of optimism, and that, Steve Jobs has this quote where, he dropped out of college, but he stuck around to take a calligraphy class. He just thought it was interesting. Yet like 10 years later, when he built the Mac, it was the first computer with like beautiful typography. And that was a huge part of like the Mac's success, right? So it's like, and then his quote was, you can't predict how the dots will connect looking forward. You could only look at that looking back. So you just need to trust that the dots will connect in your own life.
Exactly.
And I think there's something to just being willing to do things and trust that the dots will connect somehow and they'll lead to a positive outcome. I think that requires having a lot of optimism and belief in yourself, and a lot of self-respect and a lot of self-confidence. And I'm still working on that. I think we're all working on that. But I think the most successful people have a huge amount of self-belief. And that's probably the most important, I think. So try and cultivate that for yourself would be my piece of advice.
Definitely. Trying new things never hurts. That's the big thing that we've been talking about today. Trying new things never hurts. And obviously, when you try something new, it might seem like then it's not big, but later on in life, it probably could become a really big thing for anybody.
And it takes faith in yourself to not just like stick to a predestined plan or mold for how your life should go. It takes a lot of self-confidence to try something new, I think.
Exactly.
You need to trust yourself to do it. Yeah, I think it's like Steve Jobs, Stanford commencement, connect the dots. If you look that up, you'll find his speech. But That was a really influential speech for me, where he talks a lot about self-belief.
I mean, believe in yourself and other people will believe in you afterwards. That's just a proverb. A lot of
Energy
people
is
say.
contagious.
Exactly. For sure, 100%. But once again, Amogh, thank you so much for, joining us on the podcast, dropping your words of wisdom and philosophy. It truly, personally, to me, it does mean a lot. You took a chance on me and the Voice for You podcast and came here and, spoke to me today. And to our audience too. Don't forget the audience, 100%. But once again, Amogh, I really, really do appreciate you joining us today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's been a lot of fun. So it's been great meeting you.
Once again, to the viewers, thank you so much for watching till the very end of the podcast. Remember to follow the Voice for You podcast on wherever you stream your music, Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Music, as well as our socials on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. And once again, I'm your host, Joshua Vanna. Thank you so much, Amogh, for joining us on this episode, and we will see y'all next time. Thank you so much.